Well, welcome everybody to the latest edition of National Gypsum's AIA webinar series. My name is Scott Hughes. I am the Construction Design Manager, and I cover the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. I've been with National Gypsum for 16 years and looking forward, of course, to many, many more. My co-presenter today is Frank Fuller. Frank lives in the Dallas, Texas area. He is our Construction Design Manager for the Southwest, and that includes Texas, parts of Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas. Frank has been an architectural sales rep for over 26 years, and he's been in the construction industry a little bit longer than that as well. Frank and I are part of a team, and our team's primary responsibility is to help the architectural and specifier community write clear specifications. And we do that through lunch and learn presentations, whether they're in person or webinars, and of course, project-specific meetings. But today, our team's goal really is, as with all our webinars, is really to build knowledge together. So hopefully you'll learn a few things that are new today, and we look forward to your questions. That's how we gain knowledge, by getting questions that we have to do a little homework on. So we encourage you to do that throughout. Now, a couple of housekeeping things real quick. We've got a great turnout today, so everybody is in listen-only mode. Please feel free to use the Q&A. In fact, we encourage you. Please ask questions in the Q&A. My team members, other than Frank, will be monitoring those, and we will try to get to everybody's questions. If we don't, which I hope we don't, I hope we have so many that we don't, we will follow up with a mass email, with the questions and answers. So you eventually, for surely, you'll get your answers. A couple of other things. If we have your AIA number, we'll go ahead and submit the credits for you. We'll do that within the next 10 business days. If you are logged onto this webinar with a phone number, we won't know who you are, however. So if you are, we do need you to put in the Q&A, who you are, name, and then of course AIA number if you have that. And then the other thing is, let me make sure I don't forget anything, certificates will be sent to everyone. So if anybody that's given us an email, they will have that. And I think that's it for that. So let's start rolling through here. This is a 1 credit. Obviously, National Gypsum is authorized to do these presentations with the AIA. It is a health, safety, and welfare credit. And matter of fact, all our programs that we do are. Now, it is a copyrighted presentation, so we ask that nobody be videotaping this, or anything like that. However, if you find certain slides of interest and would like to have copies for your office, please let us know in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to provide those to you, in a PDF format, something like that. So today's presentation, Frank and I are going to go back and forth a little bit today. He's going to start with just a brief couple slides on continuous insulation. Most of us by now are very familiar with that, so we don't really need to dig into the weeds, but they've updated recently the zone map. So we'll show you that, and we'll talk a little bit about the different zones in the country. I'll take over after that, and we'll dig into traditional masonry veneer systems, how it's been done for a long, long time, and compare it to a cement board masonry veneer system, and why in the world would you even consider doing that? So hopefully you'll get a good comfort level for that. Frank will then take over and talk a little bit about cement board stucco. It won't take very long to go through the stucco part, because a lot of the parts and pieces, the sheathings and the cement boards and things are the same. It's just the last bit of cladding that's a little bit different. And then I'll, after Frank does the stucco, I'll come back on. We'll do some standards, requirements. It's kind of the dry stuff, but it's super important. We want to make sure that you understand that everything we're showing you today is code approved anywhere in the United States. So we're good to go. And a couple underlying themes I think you're going to hear from both Frank and I is these systems are simple to specify. They're more importantly simple to install. There's not a lot of parts and pieces. They're warranted systems. So I think you'll enjoy what you see. Lots of pictures today. And with that, Frank, I am going to turn it over to you.
Great, Scott. Thank you. As with anything we try to construct in the way of commercial buildings, it's driven by codes. And so in the case of exterior continuous insulation, you'll see that that's covered under the IECC 2021 Energy Code. So You know, depending on where you're at and your project, you know, you'll either be using the 2021, 2018, or 2015 codes. Originally, it was broken out into two: International Energy Conservation Code, or the IECC, and then ASRE 90.1. In 2018, they decided to combine both of those into the 2021 IECC. As Scott said, the climate zones have changed, and so in this one, we've circled it. You'll see that 1 through 4 has remained the same with its requirements. If you look starting at the bottom left all the way up to the top, the different years and codes that were enforced. It's only when you get to 5, 6, 7, and 8 that you begin to notice a change according to 2021 IECC. Climate Zone 8 is not on here. We believe that's probably Alaska, but you can see that in Climate Zones 5, it was increased from 7.5 to 10 CI, and then Zone 6 is the same. So just be cognizant of that. And again, always refer back to your local codes to find out which one they're following as far as the IECC 2018 or 2021. If continuous insulation cannot be used, or if you don't want to use it, there are prescriptive methods that offer you an alternative pathway to compliance. So you can do that with more energy efficient glass. You can beef up the insulation on the roof. You can improve the lighting on the interior of the building. And then more efficient HVAC systems as well. What is used as exterior continuous insulation? I think all of you are probably aware of these, but let's just briefly talk about them. Rock wool will give you an R4, and R values are per inch. And rock wool is very good for fire resistance. Then you have extruded polystyrene, expanded polystyrene, polyisocyanate, and isocyanate, and then spray foam on the very top right. It's good to note that the extruded polystyrene can be used below grade because it's unaffected by moisture, and the expanded polystyrene, which is also called beadboard, can be used for flotation as well. So two excellent boards for resistance to moisture.
All right, thanks, Frank. That's just a kind of a brief background on what's going on. Today, we're going to talk about using cement board on the exterior of the building. Usually when we think of a cement board product, our first thought is a tile backer, and it's certainly used for that. And it's a great product for tile backing. But today, we're going to ignore the inside of the building. We're going to focus on the outside. The great thing about the Cement Board Masonry Veneer Cement Board Stucco is that often the projects will have both, because thin stone, thin brick, and stucco just look so nice together. And on top of that, whether you're a residential architect or you're doing huge, you know, $300–400 million projects, there's always a place for the awesome look of stone on the exterior of the building and some stucco. So wide range of projects can use these systems. So it's actually, in the last 5 to 6 years, has become very popular. We're seeing more and more of this specified because of the ease of installation. And that's kind of the feel you'll get, I think, over the next half hour or so. So let's talk about traditional adhered veneer first. Okay, so the way it's been done for an awfully long time is our masons will, well, somebody will put up the studs. We'll put up in the upper right picture, you'll see a piece of plywood. We'll put up plywood or OSB. On top of that, they will have some kind of a weather-resistant barrier. So a couple layers of 15-pound felt. They'll staple hammer that up. Then they'll get out their metal lath. They'll roll it out onto the wall and use nails to attach that into the sheathing. And then they'll mix up on the job site either a type S or a type N mortar. And the type S or N mortar is mixed with sand and water and whatever ingredients that need to be in there. And then once they get it to the right consistency, they trowel it and embed, totally encapsulate and embed that metal lath with that type S or type N mortar. Then you have to sit back and wait a little bit because that needs to cure. So that would totally depend, of course, on environmental conditions. So provided they're really good, you know, we come back the next day and we start mixing up some additional type S or type N mortar. And that's what they're going to use to what we call lick and stick or butter the back of the stone or the brick. They're going to mix up more. If some cases you spray the back of the stone first, that's up to the manufacturers, but then you put the mortar on that and then we'll stick it to the wall. So when they actually stick the stone or brick to the wall, they have to hold it there for 3 or 4 seconds because it'll just slide if you don't. So the reason for that is a type S and a type N mortar is what we call a stacking mortar. It's for compressive strength. Think of a heavy block, concrete block, stacking one on top of the other, on top of the other, you know, for 20 feet in the air. That's a lot of compression on that mortar. So it's designed for that. It's not necessarily designed to hang things with it. Now it works, as we've seen for years and years and years, but there's some issues, and we'll show you a few pictures of that as well. So that's traditional, that's how they do it. And then of course you can grout, you have all your different grout materials, colors, and things like that. So that's traditional. Now what we propose is you need studs, obviously, you need sheathing, you need a weather barrier of some kind, but what we're going to propose is the cement board is going to replace that wire lath and the type S or type N mortar. Don't need it on the job site, neither one of them. They disappear. And the cement board becomes the mechanical bond in the wall system for the stone or brick, the thin stone, thin brick. And then when Frank talks about stucco, it would be for the stucco system. So that's what we're eliminating the need for that. So cleaner job sites, no mixing with multiple ingredients. We can actually just hang a 4x8 piece of cement board on the wall instead of the lath and type S or N mortar. The arrow is pointing to an insulated version of cement board. So that is a cement board laminated in the manufacturing process before it comes to the job site to polyisocyanurate. And it comes in different thicknesses, just depends on what you require for your project. But if you're in an area that you don't need continuous insulation, then just ignore the fact that there's insulation, and we'll just use regular cement board, a 1/2-inch piece of cement board. The nice thing about cement board in this application is it comes 4 feet by 8 feet, so you can get a whole lot of square footage covered as you get it up and on the building, so it's very quick. Now the next step is number 5 there in the picture. So instead of using a type S or type N mortar, we're going to use a polymer modified adhesive or polymer modified mortar. It just depends who you're talking to, how they say it. It's the same thing. So the polymer modified adhesive is super glue on steroids, Gorilla Glue on steroids. It is designed to hang stone and thin brick on it. So they're going to mix that up on the job site, but they're going to do it in a 5-gallon pail with water only. No sand piles. We like to call those cat box piles, but no sand piles, nothing like that. It's just a very quick and easy mix to get it to the right consistency, get it up on the wall, butter the back of your stone with the material, with the polymer modified adhesive, and then stick it up on the wall. And they can immediately take their hand off of it. It's that much adhesive. Now, you need to give it a few hours, right, for it to actually set before you'd want to hang on it. But the next day you come back, you can hang on that stone. We'll take a chisel and a hammer to get off of it. So that's the advantage. And the polymer modified adhesive manufacturers, there's several of them. We're not going to introduce any new companies to you today, and that includes stucco when we get to the stucco. There's nothing new today as far as companies that you hadn't already heard of. And we'll name names when we can. So one last thing, another advantage we get with cement board masonry veneer as well as cement board stucco is just the weight difference. I mean, it's dramatic. So our engineers love that when we're trying to figure out footers and footings and things, foundations for our building. So it just really lightens up the system. Quick, easy, and these systems are warranted by the polymer modified manufacturers. You get an adhesion warranty, up to 10 to 15 years, depending on your system. And we'll dig a little into that as we go through. But that's, that's all there is to it. I mean, really, that's the picture right there is showing you the whole system. What the cement board does is it helps eliminate what issues there do now exist with the traditional systems, and that is pops. We have a stone fall off here, there, a thin brick fall off. Maybe it's a whole sheet of them fall off, just because of various reasons. But one of them that we've seen a lot is that the rusting of the lath. So in the installation process, the contractors are in a hurry. I mean, they are nowadays. Everything in construction is fast now. So maybe this contractor didn't fully encapsulate that lath or that mesh before they tried to stick some stone to it. Had a little rain event in between. Who knows? Who knows what happened? But moisture got there, rusted out this lath, and I'm sure it took a long time, but it happened, and then it failed. So we see that in several projects over time. So we're trying to, give a solution that we can eliminate the chance of that even happening by not having that wire lath there. Skill level. So skill level is important, of course, in construction. This is a simple system. So we can have our non-skilled workers do most of everything here. But if you think about when you do traditional masonry veneer stuff, and there's a guy at a mixer using 12 shovels of sand and mixing all the ingredients together, it's usually the low man on the totem pole that's doing all that, because that's the hard work. They got to shovel all this stuff all day long. So by eliminating that, we eliminate the need. It can be anybody that can mix the polymer modified adhesives. But we're trying to prevent this. Visuals, pictures are so much better than words. Garage doors in a residential house, up and down movement obviously will shake that wall. We all know that. If you live in a home with garage doors, your walls move when they go up and down. And over time, not overnight, but over time, they're just rattled loose, because again, we're using a type S or N mortar, and that's all about compressive strength, not necessarily designed for sticking. The picture to the right, I took that picture. I live in Pennsylvania, southeast Pennsylvania. And I was waiting for my kids to come out of a store, how dads do, and just happened to look over and saw that. And it's kind of hard to see unless you're really looking for it. But there's a stone missing there, and you look through and you can see the type N mortar there. I tell you, from after this presentation, next time you go out shopping at a strip mall, you all are going to be looking for these. Now that you've seen this, and you're going to find them. It's amazing. They do exist. The polymer modified adhesives help to eliminate this. I would never say would totally eliminate, but they certainly help to prevent this from happening at the occurrence it does with traditional. In simplest forms, comparing cement board systems. And by the way, there's multiple manufacturers of cement board systems, so it's not just one, to the lath and scratch. Factory components on the cement board side, meaning everything comes to the job site ready to go off the truck except the polymer modified adhesive. That does need to be mixed, but only with water, no other additives. With the lath and scratch, we've got a sand pile, we've got a mixer, we've got shovels, and we're mixing all our ingredients at the job site. And hopefully in Southern Texas, in August, that shovel weighs the same at 8 a.m. as it does at quitting time at 3 p.m., right? So all of that can affect the long-term performance of traditional stuff. We mentioned it earlier, anyone can install the cement board. It does take a little bit of a skill to do the mixing of the type S or N. You really do want somebody that knows what they're doing. Otherwise, you're just going to have callbacks. No contractor wants callbacks. And then we've got ready to go, mentioned that already. You do have to let the type S or N cure. Hopefully the GC gives them long enough to do that. You can't be in a rush with the traditional systems. It needs to cure, it needs to set. And then with the cement board, if you can get somebody to work in negative 20 degrees, shoot, you can hang all the cement boards you want. Remember, it comes 4x8 sheets. You can get a lot on the wall quickly. And we'll show you some more pictures of that here in just a second. Now, with the lath and scratch, obviously, you're mixing water. You can't have freezing temperatures. You can't be mixing it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon knowing it's going to drop below freezing in an hour, right? You got to tent your building now. So there's all of those things to consider. Don't even need to worry about that when you're putting up the cement board. You just obviously need to worry about the comfort of your workers. clean job site on the left, obviously, to a job site that has potential of being a mess if we get an afternoon thunderstorm blowing through there real quick, right? And hopefully there's not a sewer drain right behind this picture somewhere where all that stuff runs down that drain. So that's kind of the things that, you know, just by having a system that's warranted, easy to install, and comes pretty much ready to go. All I got to do is put the parts and pieces together on the site itself. It's just simple. We unwrap that pallet. They hand the board up, 4x8 board up to the gentleman up there, and they just start screwing in the studs. And they can keep on going right around the building. Now, if they were doing the continuous insulation version, not only are you getting your cement board up, but you're getting your continuous insulation up all in one shot. So you're going around the building once and doing, getting two things accomplished. So talk about speeding things up. That's a great way to do it. So let's walk you through the parts and pieces. And as you can see, this will not take very long. Again, the beauty of the system. We'll start with more of a light commercial residential, and then I'll show you some metal studs and commercial as well. But, you know, wood-based sheathing, well, let's start with the studs. So we have wood studs. Obviously, we need studs. You have to have a primary sheathing. So that would be this OSB board that's pictured here. It could be plywood. That is required, okay? We don't want to put cement board or the insulated cement board directly to studs on the exterior of the building. So on the outside, we do need this primary sheathing. Advantage of the wood products is they give you racking strength. That also the big thing with this primary sheathing is it gives you a base for your moisture barrier or your weather barrier. And we'll talk about that too, I promise. There's options there. So the picture, you see that. Your other option is gypsum sheathing. Gypsum sheathing gives you some fire resistance. In fact, my next slide will get a little bit better into what that looks like. So, you know, there's the multiple colors out there in the marketplace for the fiberglass matte gyp sheathings. That stuff can be exposed up to 12 months during construction. So it's a great advantage of using those. So we'll attach that to our metal studs. In this case, we're showing the weather-resistant barrier being applied to that primary gyp sheathing. It's fiberglass matte gyp sheathing. And then what that primary sheathing really does for us is it does stiffen the wall up a little bit, not as good as OSB or plywood, but it does stiffen it up a little bit, gives us somewhat of a thermal break, hot air indoors, cold air outdoors, vice versa, and the heat trying to transfer through the studs. I mean, the whole point of continuous insulation, right? And then it gives us a solid backing for our weather barriers. That's what we really need. So we, years back, we tried to put cement board directly with the studs, did not work well. We really needed to have that weather barrier back there and a little bit of stiffer wall. So that's really the purpose of that primary sheathing is those things, and including putting our weather barrier on there. So speaking of weather barriers, you've got options here. Upper left is a building wrap, and I know there's all different kinds of that out in the marketplace now. What we'll see more often is a roller applied or trowel applied air and moisture barrier of some kind. It's basically they take a paint roller with a certain nap and they roll out the material, let it dry, put a second coat on, let it dry, and there's your air barrier. You've sealed everything up real well. So that's certainly a popular option. And then of course the peel and stick membranes. I know there's a lot of folks that are fans of those, so that they're an option as well. So you know, any air and a resistant barrier or weather barrier, air barrier will work in these systems. If you're going for a longer term warranty, and each manufacturer is a little bit different, that's why I'm kind of being vague on longer term, but it's, you know, 10 to 15 years, let's say. They may have a weather barrier that they sell and promote that they'll want you to use. So for those longer terms, you're most likely going to see, you know, these roller applied type stuff. But if it's all about dollars and cheap, then you've got alternatives as well. Now, we hadn't shown any rain screen option. We get that question, so we want to kind of just put that up there right now. That is available, of course. My company, nor any of the companies involved with these parts and pieces, sell the rain screen that I'm aware of. I don't think they do. Anyway, I know mine doesn't. So we don't sell that, but there's plenty available out in the marketplace. If you, your client, or the local code requires it, you can certainly throw a mesh in there of some type to meet those requirements. So they're readily available out in the marketplace. But looking at the stucco compared to the thin brick, you know, what you see is what you see. Now, I know we've got penetrations, we've got corner details for sure, pipes, electrical outlets, outdoor lighting, those kinds of things. Believe me, we've got details for all of that. Corners, inside and outside corners. How do you do that with the cement board with insulation? We've got the details for all of that. How do you transition from, say, the brick side on the right to the second floor, which may be stucco? We've got the details for that for you as well, too. So all of that is easily and readily available. So a little bit more on the cement board. It's important that when you're specifying cement board masonry veneer or cement board stucco, we include ASTM C1325. Okay, there are several manufacturers. Let me rephrase. There are a few manufacturers that meet ASTM C1325. When you think of cement board, again, like I mentioned in the beginning, you usually think of a tile backer, and there are loads of tile backer products out in the marketplace. Most of them cannot be used outdoors, okay? But the cement boards, and there's three major manufacturers, I'm sure you all know who they are, that meet ASTM C1325, they are approved to be used in these systems. The beauty of cement board is it comes 4x8 sheet for the exterior, so it's very quick to install. It is naturally mold resistant. We don't need to treat it with anything because the alkalinity in the cement will kill the nucleuses of the mold. And then think of how easy it is to put up a 4x8 sheet. You know, I've said it several times, but the point is it's quick, it's easy, and it's simple. Now, not pictured, but if it was pictured, the one with the insulation, the cement board and insulation, it has been tested there are a few other manufacturers as well to NFPA 285. So we do have documentation on that with several, and I mean lots of weather barrier manufacturers. So we do have the backup for that as well. All right, let's get back to the pictures of jobs, much more fun. Here's a job, I believe this was in Texas. So walking you through the process, we've got obviously metal studs. They use a fiberglass matte gyp sheathing, and that was for the 12-month exposures, right? It can rain, snow, sleet on it. Can't have a hurricane through there, but you can, you know, we guarantee for 12 months of exposure that that sheathing will be just fine. You can't get that with anything else, especially not paper-face sheathing products and then the wood products. You know, they just can't handle moisture for that long. So that's the reason for that. And then we'll put a weather barrier of some kind over the primary gyp sheathing. And then in this case, we put regular cement board. So this was not a continuous insulation project, but they put regular cement board screwed 8 inches on center through the weather barrier, through the primary sheathing, and then into the stud. So that's how you attach the cement board. And you'll do that, by the way, the same with the one with insulation. It's just a longer fastener, and we'll get into the fasteners. So once that's screwed in and tight, now we can stick whatever we want to it. So as you can see, we've got stone, a couple different types of stone, brick. You could throw stucco in there in the mix. Now you'd need to detail the transitions, but we've got all that. So we can do all of that. It's just nice to have one sheathing. And when I talk about one sheathing, I mean the cement board, and stick multiple different things to it to get the kind of look we're looking for. So kind of cool. This one here, just to show you more of a stucco, upper left is a medical center where they went with cement board stucco for two reasons: durability, and then of course warranty, and then ease of installation for the contractors. Quickness and ease, let's kind of call that the same thing because they were in a hurry. And I guess nowadays we're all in a hurry to get our jobs done. So it just makes sense to do something that is not weather dependent, except for the polymer modified adhesive and except for the base coat, finish coat mix. But everything else, boy, you can fly. Bottom picture shows a little bit of an archway or a bendable there. So the cement boards themselves, we're talking about a 1/2 inch thick product. That's what we use in the exterior. We typically think gypsum world, we think 5/8 type X all the time. But with cement boards, you don't need a 5/8 type X. You can pass UL tests with 1/2 inch and of course other things. But so we use a 1/2 inch board. That 1/2 inch board will actually bend a radius of 5 feet. So you can bend it a little bit and then put either a small tile or something like that, or of course a stucco type finish to it. So it just gives you a little bit of flexibility in your design. Kind of fun. buildings that maybe not see a whole lot of traffic every day, but when they do see traffic, it's an incredible amount of traffic. And that's what the purpose of this was. It was to have a building that, you know, people could lean against the parts there and not do damage, throw balls against it, what have you. You know, get a little bit rowdy trying to get into the stadium, those kinds of things. So the owner here wanted the stone look, didn't want to pay for full stone, so they went with cement board stucco, just a great alternative to a full stone and the price of that. Here's a project in North Carolina. This one's been ongoing for over 5 years now, I believe, in phases. It's a very large, as you can see, multifamily project. They tried this in the very beginning of this job about 5 years ago. They thought, well, we're going to give it a go for a building and just see how it goes. And what it is it's obviously it's a cement board masonry veneer. They liked it so much, I believe we're working on phase 3 now, or about to, and we're going to have almost 3 million square feet of this installed eventually. So let me point out a few things that are cool in this picture. So bottom right corner, we see a curb. So we have a very small, tight job space. That's another advantage of this system. You don't have all these piles of sand and mixture and everything out. The stuff that takes up the most room is the thin stone and thin brick in those boxes. Everything else can actually be loaded off the truck and right onto the wall. And that's kind of what happened here. So we don't see the cement board. It's already been covered with the air and moisture barrier that you see. That's that pale green. But what happens is the studs go up, the primary sheathing goes up. In this case, the cement board went up next. They roller applied an air and moisture barrier, air and water barrier to it. One coat took 2 hours to dry. They came back, did a second coat, took 2 hours to dry, and they're immediately mixing polymer modified adhesives and sticking that to the wall. So it's just, you could have one crew following the next crew and just work your way around the building. It's really a cool, quick, easy system. One other thing I wanted to mention is 15 pounds per square foot is the maximum we want to hang on cement board for the exterior as of right now. That is a code thing. That is not a manufacturer thing. We know we can hold a heck of a lot more weight than that, but code doesn't allow it right now. So we're working to increase that, but you know, 15 pounds a square foot, that's a lot of weight. So you can hang just an awful lot of materials with that kind of weight. So it's just, you know, an example of a quick, easy job site, clean for the most part. You know, big thunderstorm rolls through, they're not terribly concerned, those kinds of things. Now on the inside of the building, we can do the same thing, except it's a much simpler system. Now we've got studs. We've got cement board directly to the studs because we're indoors, so you can do that. And then we just stick with polymer modified adhesive, a stone or thin brick right to the cement board, and boom, we're done. So it's just, you get the nice look of this stone without the thick, you know, full size, and without any kind of mixing on the inside of the building. It's just super quick, and you can go up to 25 pounds because there's no air barriers and things like that. So you can stick right to the studs, all that. So the code allows up to 25 pounds of weight on the inside. So neat stuff, lots of flexibility as far as obviously colors, textures. Yeah, you pick your stone and brick, whatever you want, we can stick it to it. So we did a study, boy, 4 or 5 years back by now, maybe a little bit more than that, in January in the Maryland, DC market. And what we did is we hired the Home Innovation Research Lab to monitor, watch, and take notes on how long it took a mason to do their traditional masonry veneer on one side of a house and how long it took them to do the cement board masonry veneer on the other side of the house. So what they did is they had a huge warehouse. They built a home inside the warehouse, as you can see in the pictures here. And they were using this for some window tests and things too. But they allowed, what we did is we had a mason with 3 gentlemen come. And on the one side, they did it the way they always do it. Type S mortar, mixed it up, threw it up on the wall. You know, they have 15-pound felt and the wire, lath, and all those things. So they did it traditional. And somebody actually was sitting behind a computer down on the floor with them, monitoring their progress every 3 minutes and took notes on that. And of course, videotaped everything as well. So we just wanted to know, hey, ideal conditions, 70 degrees indoors, no humidity issues of any kind. Let's just go to town and see how long it takes. Then they gave us about an hour, and we talked them through how to install the cement board and do the cement board masonry system with a polymer modified adhesive. So after that, we had to go upstairs. If you've ever seen those shows where doctors are learning how to do surgery and they're kind of in this upper room, glass looking down on the operating table, well, that's what we were. We were in this room looking down, and we watched as these guys worked. Now, they did 8 hours a day. They didn't go, obviously, much longer than that. So it was several days. But let me run the video, and we'll talk about the results. Music gets me every time. You think Thor's coming out of the ocean with his hammer above his head. So here's what happened. After monitoring it, watching what they were doing, they put together a nice several-page report for us. And here's kind of here are the results. 35% less time to install the cement board masonry veneer versus this traditional metal lath and scratch. Now that just makes a lot of sense because, again, we're not putting up lath and we're not putting together a scratch, right? Well, you are a little bit with the polymer modified adhesive, but you're not trying to embed it in the lath and then have to wait. So it's just quicker. 20% less time to install that polymer modified adhesive because all you're doing is mixing it with water. Where the masonry mortar, they're mixing it with sand and everything else, 12 shovelfuls and those kinds of things. So we're saving time. Obviously, that's a big deal when it comes with construction costs. Now, I mentioned we were up in this window looking down on these guys for a couple days in a row, and frankly, it got a little boring after a while. So we went downstairs. We weren't allowed to talk to them, but we went downstairs and walked on the inside of that house. And it was just, you could see the inside of the sheathing. And we noticed all the fasteners, particularly on the one side for the traditional. So we actually had them count. And they came up with 4,300 plus penetrations through that 2 layers of 15-pound felt in the traditional side. And that's over, of course, 275 square feet. Now, I know the 15-pound felt is designed for that, but really that's a lot of penetrations when you compare it to the cement board side at 550 fasteners for 275 square feet. Because remember, the weather barrier is a roller ply, so there's no fasteners at all. The last bullet point, we were pleased, but we were hoping for more, but it was $1 a square foot less expensive. That's good. At least it's not more. But the key is 35% faster overall. They were done 35% faster, moving on to the next job. And the masons are starting to grab this, and they're really starting to run with this. And they're even starting to talk to their architects about, hey, we would like to do this because it's faster, simpler, quicker. And by the way, it's warranted, if I hadn't mentioned that yet. I know I have, by major manufacturers. All right, stucco, I'm going to turn it over to Frank, and he's going to walk us through the stucco.
All right, direct applied exterior finish. What is that? Well, it's often compared to a three-coat stucco systems, one-coat stucco system, or an EIFS system. And all of these, you can get the same finish that you've got previously. What's different is the backup to each one. So let's look at some terminology. The three-coat stucco system is 7/8 inch thick, as the weather-resistant barrier, metal lath, and then your different elements of the scratch coat, brown coat, Portland cement, and then the finish itself. The one-coat stucco, which is a 1/2 to 5/8 inch thick, consists of the weather barrier, metal lath wire, and 3/8 inch minute one-coat finish. And on the right there at the top, you can see how it's installed, each element. The components of the cement board stucco are easy to follow. It's easy to install. It's a simple, installation, simple design. So you're going to have your primary sheathing that Scott already talked about, your weather-resistant barrier, be it a fluid applied or a building wrap type product. And you would apply your cement board over that. Then you're going to use some alkali-resistant tape to address the joints. You'll have, depending on whatever your EIFS system is, you're going to have a base coat. You're going to use a reinforcing mesh. Primer is optional, but always suggested. Then you can apply the finish coat and then address the rest of it with flashing tape and weep screen. So basically, what we're looking at is, as the video showed, reduction in time and labor, and it's definitely going to increase reliability and efficiency. Continuing on, again, when you address the board joints, you're going to use a 4-inch alkali-resistant tape, and it's going to be embedded over all the joints. And then the base coat and the mesh are important steps. It needs to be, the entire surface needs to be covered with that mesh coat, and then with the embedded with the base coat. Okay, so and then you can apply your finishes. You can get all types of shapes and reinforcement and finishes, any shapes, coins, trim. You can do have a reinforced coating system, and then your finish coat as well. So the simple shapes can be instructed, and we're getting ready to see some pictures of that will allow you to design what you're looking for, and it's definitely going to be reinforced, and as you'll see by one of the pictures, easily installed in all types of weather. Ah, here we go. So this is the same building, front and back, and it's a real clean job site. And you'll also notice in the picture on the right that there appears to be snow on the ground. So this reinforces what Scott was talking about earlier, that the cement board can be applied in cold temperatures. It can be raining. I wouldn't suggest putting it up in a tornado, but all other weather conditions, it can be installed. Excellent picture of an installation of a cement stucco system, cement board stucco system up in Canada. This is a ski resort, and this has been on a very long time. And the type of elements you're dealing with up there, both for installation and for the life cycle of that building. This cement board enhances the system and really gives you that long-lasting performance. You look at, let's go to the first picture at the far bottom right. So with a cement board integrated into your system, this is on a golf course. as somebody's driving that golf ball, you no longer have to worry about it if you're using a cement board system. The penetration into that, it's going to stop that. You can take a baseball bat to it, and so you're going to damage the surface, but not the entire system, the board itself. So very good application there. You can see that it's used in multi-family residential applications. Depending on how high the building is, you might have to get an engineer involved, but you can see it, different types of finishes can be installed over the cement board. And so it allows you to continue to have a beautiful exterior. Retail and light commercial. If you happen to be passing this strip center on the right, take a look at those columns that Scott alluded to earlier. These are with the cement board system behind it. They're going to last a lot longer, and you're not going to have the situation of bricks popping off. Standalone restaurants with all types of exterior finishes are excellent over a cement board stucco system, as well as your department stores where they're using all types of exterior finish, brick, stone, and then just metal panels. So it's all supported by the cement board systems.
Well, let's start to wind down and talk about the important stuff too, which is of course codes and standards. So of course, depending where your project is, 2015 may still be applied, but 2021's been out for a little while now, and everything Frank and I have talked to you about today is approved right through the 2021 IBC. So there shouldn't be a jurisdiction anywhere in the country that you can't use these systems. So let's go over the standards that are important to be in your spec. And of course, we have a whole team, which we're going to introduce to you here in just a few minutes, that will help with this as well. But when you're talking about cement board stucco systems, there has been an ASTM standard for quite some time. It's C1516, so let's be sure that that is in your specifications. It talks about application requirements, of course, and instructions. But we also want to make sure that we're using, the right cement board products, right? That C1325 products, they're the ones that need to be on our projects because they are approved for outdoor use. Now, with the adhered manufactured stone or the masonry veneer units, we've got C1780, and that talks about the cement board being accepted, in the systems we talked about today. Important as well is 1670, and that's the standard spec for the adhered manufactured stone units themselves. So be sure we include that. And I think the third bullet point here is kind of the most important, in at least my conversations with architects, and that is that, the National Concrete Manufacturers Association, they're the lead association in everything we've talked about today, masonry. They have added these cement board masonry veneer systems to their installation manual. Did it a couple years ago. COVID's kind of messed us up a little bit on timing, but it's been a couple years now. We had not previously been in for exterior use, but we are in there now. So they have bought in hook, line, and sinker, and they really see the value in what we're offering, even to our masons. I mean, you get a little pushback sometimes from a mason, but you're actually getting them done a little quicker, and they can move on to the next job and build for some more hours. So that was big. That was key. We're real happy with that. ASTMs, so the two ASTMs, 1780 and 1670, replaced the old acceptance criteria 51. That was the test where we did salt spray, freeze thaw, wind. I'm forgetting everything else that's in there, but we can be used anywhere in the country. Again, you can do it coastal, you can do it inland. No issues with these systems. They are tested. And don't forget for the continuous installation NFPA 285. let me just highlight, as we wrap up, some other options for continuous insulation and how to attach with the cement board system. So the first here, and we're just going to show you options. You all have your own opinions on them, but here's a Z-furring channel. Some people like to call them Z-girts, but they're metal, and you would attach, obviously, the insulation in between, and then the cement board would be attached into the Z-girt, either horizontal or vertical. The interesting thing is, and I don't have a picture of it, but I understand there's several manufacturers now of Z-girts in fiberglass. So go ahead and Google them or Bing it, and they'll come up. And I've worked with an architect in New Jersey where they use that on a casino project. So I know it's out there. There are several, I shouldn't say several, a few Z-girt manufacturers doing it in fiberglass. We want to show, all the options. So we've got two systems here. Dow put together a nice system called the Night Wall system, as well as the Cascadia Clip system. And these systems are heavily engineered and also wonderful technical departments. So if we're going to hang, I don't know, 15 pounds a square foot of rock or stone on top of our cement board, we call up their tech departments and say, okay, how do we fasten the cement board to your system? And they help with all of those things. So that's the advantage there. And we've certainly got clients out there that love these systems and want them on their buildings. The Foam Sheathing Coalition, the Foam Sheathing Coalition has recommendations, either wood or fiberglass battens. So I guess that would be the least expensive of everything we've seen so far. But again, we just want to show you the various options you have out there. And then, of course, what you've seen a lot in some of these pictures is the cement board adhered to polyisocyanurate insulation. It comes in various thicknesses. Frank's going to dig a little bit deeper into this, so I will just highlight the different thicknesses meet the different requirements that we have or need in the, we have the different thicknesses to meet depending on what zone is there. So NFPA 285 approvals, fasteners, and whatnot. I'm going to skip green guard gold. We'll talk about that when we get to the actual thing. Sorry, we have a little thing going on in the background here. So cement board over continuous insulation fastener wise, if it's whether it's just the regular cement board because you didn't need continuous insulation, or it's the cement board with insulation, we've got fasteners for you. We've got options for you. And in fact, the fastener manufacturers have put together charts so we know what spacing to use, what fastener to use, depending, of course, on the entire construction of that wall. So that concludes the education portion of it. And what we're going to do now is name some names so you're familiar with who that is and kind of walk you through what some of these products you saw was. So I want to start with National Gypsum. National Gypsum Company, we are the exclusive service provider of products manufactured by Gold Bond Building Products. That's our drywall. So any drywall is now the manufacturing company's Gold Bond. Permabase is the cement board that you've seen in most of the presentation today. Dexel is our roof board that would be used for a roof cover board over insulation or a thermal barrier in a flat roof. And then ProForm is our finishing products, our joint compounds and things like that. So Permabase on the left is just our standard 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, or 5/8 thick. It is used as a tile backer on the inside of the building, and the 1/2 inch version can be used on the exterior. Well, 5/8 too, but on the exterior of the building, if you don't need continuous insulation, we can adhere our stone and stucco directly to that. And then, of course, we've got the insulated version, and that's called Permabase CI for continuous insulation. So here we've got 3 different versions, 1, 2, and 3 inch thick. And they're the R values, 4, 10, or 16. So in most cases, we're just fine with the 2 inch version at R10. In fact, it's a little bit better. If you remember back to those zone maps, 7.5 of continuous insulation, R value was pretty popular. So that R10 will cover you there. I think we've talked enough about NFPA 285. I've got a fastener for you. You just tell me what your system is. We've got some recommendations for you. Naturally mold resistant, and we did test it for UL. And here's the green guard. So I will mention green guard gold certification for Permabase, whether it's tile backer, indoors, or our cement board insulated version. I like this picture just to show it. I know you've seen it several times, but I love it because that's all there is to it. Whether you're doing stone or stucco, The stone, you know, the manufacturers of the polymer modified are the ones who will provide a warranty for that system. And then when we look over at the stucco, the base coat and finish coat are the EIFS manufacturer. So you name an EIFS manufacturer, they've got a cement board stucco system. Now they're EIFS folks, so that's what they promote heavily. But if you want the cement board stucco, they've got sections on their website for that as well. So you'll see that. And in fact, some of them even call out permabase is what they want to see in the system. This is a manufacturing facility in Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, where they panelize. And one of my permabase reps got some great pictures of this project. They're just putting it together in a warehouse, and they're going to ship it out by truck and like a big jigsaw puzzle, put everything together. But whether it's regular permabase or it's the purple sheathing that you see, that's the EXP sheathing, fiberglass mat sheathing. The permabase CI goes on top, the 2-inch version, and then they start sticking the stone or brick, well, it's brick, with the polymer modified adhesives, and then they can stick it on a tractor trailer and send it to the job site. So they love it. It's just very easy, and you can see that how they do some corners there on that lower picture. So we don't need to go through a fastener slide. Just rest assured, I've got a fastener for you, okay? So we've got all this data. In fact, it's in our submittals, on our submittals. So you'll see all of that there. Lots of options for our contractors. It's important to note that we do have UL evaluation reports. There's 2. There's version 1. That's not version 1. There's report 1 and report 2. The reason for that is 1 covers permabase, 2 covers permabase CI. There's a typo there. So the permabase CI continuous insulation has its own, and we've got all the UL testing done. We're good to go. Bottom line, we're good to go. Non-combustible, metal, wood, steels. This is what we provide the building officials, and they have a big smile on their face when they see it. So we're good to go with these reports. Just to highlight and review, we've got XP line of products. Our XP stands for extra protection against mold and mildew growth. So all of these products are mold resistant as well as moisture resistant. XP, just the plain old Gold Bond XP, is wonderful for basements, interior of exterior walls, moist environments. Now, not a sauna or an indoor pool, but you know, moist type environments. It's just you've got a little added protection against mold growth. We also have an abuse and impact resistant version, and they only come in XP, meaning they only come mold and moisture resistant. The high abuse is a heavy duty paper, so it's abrasion scratch resistant. Kids running down the hall in a school, bouncing off the walls, you're not going to scuff this paper anywhere as easily as you can standard drywall. And then we have high impact. This is the baseball bat stopper. Literally the strongest person in a room, if we're in a conference room together, take a baseball bat, hit the board, hopefully between the studs, not at the stud. You will not put a hole in it. Now, if you pound on it, you will. But it is a great alternative to CMU if you don't really need CMU. So there are certainly cases when you do, and that would be prisons, you know, jail cells, things like that. But it's an option. So get your local team member, which we're going to show you here in a second, involved if you have any of that. Soundbreak XP is our mold and mildew resistant, higher STC performing wallboard. It's a 5/8 inch thick product, 2 layers of gypsum with a viscoelastic polymer in between. That polymer is what makes it work. It's like magic. It will help reduce sound vibrational energy through our board and helps to increase our STC rating. So great, we'd actually do a whole hour presentation on that. And then we have a shaft wall liner product that's both moisture resistant and mold resistant, paper treated as well. EXP is our exterior, well, I should say EXP is our glass mat product line. So we just put an E in front of the XP. It's really for extra protection. Now, the glass mat products, we literally take the rolls of paper off the production line and we put on rolls of fiberglass mat. The advantage we get with fiberglass mat is that it does not absorb or wick moisture. So this stuff can be exposed to the weather for up to 12 months, and we guarantee you'll still be able to use it. Now, it can't be sitting in a pile of mud on a job site, but it can be installed. And we could do what's called topping out. We'll put in the first 3 or 4 feet with the fiberglass mat, and then that would be the interior extreme. And then the MEP contractors can poke holes through it. We don't want you to necessarily finish it, tape it, paint it, and do all that till the building's dry, but at least you can get it up and it doesn't delay construction. Of course, the purple sheathing you've seen, I'm sure, as you drive around your various neighborhoods and cities. We have a fiberglass mat shaft liner available as well. And then we do have an EXP Fire Shield tile backer, and that would have a heat-cured acrylic coating on it, and that would be your moisture barrier for interior tiling. So it's an option. Joint compounds, we've got several versions of joint compounds out in the marketplace, really contractor preference on which one they like to use. Ready mix compounds are already mixed, off the top and go. The numbers on those bags are how many minutes the contractor has. It's called a setting compound. That chemical reaction happens in the compound where it sets, and regardless of environmental conditions. So we always use those on the outside and highly recommend for basements. Roof cover board, Dexel is our roof cover board line. We've got one for mechanically attached single ply roofing, or I should say flat roofing. We've got one for fully adhered, so glued flat roofs. And then of course we also have a Dexel cement version, and that's for high humidity buildings like skating rinks and manufacturing facilities with a lot of moisture that you're actually worried about moisture driven from within. It's a great alternative because cement board is just unaffected by moisture. Our resources. So let's close out with our resources. There's our team. Left side, you see Frank and I as you look at that picture, but I want to introduce Pat Grotlish. She is our Western area rep. Trang Schwartz, right below her, is our architectural specialist. Boy, she does a lot for us behind the scenes and heavily involved with LEED and sustainable design. Thad Goodman in the upper part of the country covers all of the Midwest and Central, as you see there. Below him is Alan Zedek. He covers all of our Gulf states as well as, let's say, North Carolina South, so the Southeast there. And then you see me, I have the Northeast Mid-Atlantic. And most important, of course, Amy Hockett. She's our manager for the whole thing, and she keeps us all together. So to the right is 800 National. When you call that phone number, that is our technical service department. Those gentlemen are there. They answer the phone. They're ready to go. Let me briefly introduce the three books, and we'll wrap it up. So we've got Purple Book. Our Purple Book is a second edition. It is, like I like to call it, a UL reference book. It has all kinds of stuff in here. You can download this from our website. You can contact one of those team members in your area. We can get you some hard copies as well. But it has things like priority legends. How do I intersect a 1 and 2 hour fire rated wall? How do I do it with a 2 and a 3 hour wall? So several pages of this kind of stuff. Head of wall details. How do you fire stop that? There's got to be 25 pages of this with different deckings and different, deflection track for 2 and 3 and 4 hour walls. All of those kind of details. All of the UL references are there as well. How to fire stop an offset. That's all in this book as well with all the UL references. Our sound book, acoustical book. It's page after page after page of this. 4 per page of metal and wood studs with STCs tested of each assembly and what they are. So the soundboard is shown here, our sound break, but there's plenty without it. There's some stuff with wood studs, metal studs, different gauges. It's just a wonderful resource that you can download from our book. Here's our brand new resource launched last week. We call it the Wood Book. The Purple Book is all metal. This is all wood. So it's called the Wood Book. Same thing as the Purple Book, except now we're detailing wood construction for all those things. So go to thewoodbook.com and you can download it from there. We've got you covered with sustainable design, Green Guard Gold certification. We've got HPDs for our products. We've got declare labels for some of our products. So just rest assured that if you're doing a sustainable design project, we've got you covered with the paperwork on that. Of course, specs are available from us. We're also on SpecLink and of course Master Spec. So, but don't hesitate to reach out. I know several of you have probably had some questions. We will get those questions answered and sent out to you. Go to the design resources of National Gypsum's website and you can download everything. You'll see it there. Go to nationalgypsum.com, hit the search bar, type Purple Book, type Sound Book, type Wood Book. It'll take you right there. So with that, thank you. Frank and I appreciate your time. I see I'm about 2 minutes over, so I'm going to end it right now. Questions that we didn't get, we will certainly send out to you, and I hope we built a little bit of knowledge together today. So thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.